again.
Welcome back to the Reverbium podcast. My name is Jimmy.
And I'm Sean.
Yes, we really need to switch up. We really need to switch up this intro, but I have no ideas at the moment. But anyway, this is the WrestleMania special. There will be many wrestling news. He's got a frown on his face, but he did watch WrestleMania of his own volition. So
yeah, I had to pay fucking £10 for the privilege. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, that is going to be our main focus. We also just witnessed some big releases from WWE, which we will get to just before we talk about WrestleMania. We'll also go over Nxt Takeover Night 2, because we only did Night 1 last week. And we've got a bunch of other news to go through first. So, Sean, you start off wherever you like, my son.
We'll start with TV and film. There's the least amount, I think. So we get out of the way. First one's that Mads Mikkelsen has been announced that he's joining the next Indiana Jones film. Oh, my camera just shook.
Mine did.
The Indiana Jones film.
Yeah.
That he'll join good old Harrison Ford in the next film, which has been directed by James Mangold and Steven Spielberg. I don't have much else about the film, so I didn't know there was going to be another one. If I'm honest.
Yeah, they did.
You might know a bit more, but
I don't really know anything else. Just
good old John Williams is back for the music. Classic, can't go wrong there. So,
Fast and Furious 9 just had a trailer released. I haven't actually seen it myself, but I know John Cena is a focus in it. And if you're a Fast and Furious fan and you haven't seen the trailer by now, run to YouTube and grab it while you can, which is until the movie releases, because it will always be up there. But
why are they still making these films? Just for the surely they've got to give up soon.
Why do they still make it? Because they make money.
How though? How?
People love them. I don't know.
Why?
You can say that about anything. You can say that about Pokemon. Why do they still make Pokemon games? Because people love them.
Is that great?
Yeah, but that's subjective, isn't it?
Nah. Everyone knows they're great.
Yes, United just
don't ever. I don't care. Don't ever disrespect
don't.
Pokemon to me again, dickhead.
Anyway, is that it? Is that it for you? Got nothing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's a bit of a slow week for that.
Yeah. We'll do a bit of music here. I've got a bit of music. Well, kinda. Montero, Call Me By Your Name by Lil Nas X.
Once again, we're talking about it.
Yeah, a focus of our podcast a few weeks ago. The other day was in certain regions. I think Brazil was a big one, maybe America as well. But certain regions, the song was being taken down, especially the explicit version, from streaming services with no actual reason given. The reason is probably racial or homophobic, but no actual reason was given.
So we cannot confirm or deny that.
We can't,
but
yes.
It's very likely that that's the reason why.
But I think the way things have been going as well, it's back up on most of these platforms. But it's very odd because it was taken down from places like Apple Music, Spotify, big companies. So yeah, that's all we know about it. I think the last thing I saw was a lot of people were saying it was back up, or they were saying the clean version is there but the explicit version isn't, which is stupid. I don't know how you can say that song is really bad, it's really satanic, and then blast Highway to Hell, but regardless, that is our music news. Not much. A lot of this week is wrestling, which you'll be so happy about, boys and girls.
Woo! That's what we came for.
That is.
We're now exclusively a wrestling podcast.
It is. Yeah. we did think about.
We're not really. Honestly, we're not. Please stick around. We're not.
We did actually think about doing a separate podcast for WrestleMania, but we didn't have a lot of
But I
news.
decided I didn't want to listen to Jimmy talk for an hour about every single
Yeah,
match, so we decided against it.
Yeah, that's true.
So thank me. Everyone thank me in the comments. So thank you, Sean, our Lord and Saviour, for keeping the wrestling part hopefully to like half an hour at a maximum.
We've got like
Hopefully less.
3 big shows to talk about and a bunch of other news. We'll see how long it goes. Anyway,
I'm leaving.
gaming news: The Last of Us is reportedly getting a remake for PS5.
For no reason.
For no reason. I think they wanna see what they can do with the new hardware, like up the graphics, do this. I don't know if it'll be
Make a new game then.
I don't know if it'll be a remake of or a remaster, but it's been labeled as a remake, so I have no idea what that entails. You know, is it going to be like what they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is a completely different game? I don't know, but that is a thing that is happening, and a news along with that is unconfirmed, but Days Gone, a sequel was reportedly pitched for it, but there was news that it was completely rejected by Sony. I think the developers have actually not denied it, but not confirmed that the rejection took place, but they did confirm that they pitched the sequel. And also a new Uncharted game has potentially been cancelled because of that as well. So yeah, that we don't know much, but that is a report that has come out. So if we get any news on that, we shall talk a bit further about it. One more news, and it's wrestling related and gaming, Sean. The 2-in-1.
Combining worlds.
Yeah, WWE 2K22.
And the world's going to end.
WWE 2K22 has finally been announced. They took a year off. 2K took a year off because the last one was shit.
And this one will probably also be shit, even though it's taken 2 years to make it.
All we've seen, or I don't know. I think if they'd lose the license if they fucked it up again. I think, but
I mean, they're supposed to be improving the NBA games the past few years, and from what people are saying, they haven't done it. So, what would have been any different here, personally?
Well, from the trailer that
I'll
aired,
wait till it comes out. But...
From the short teaser trailer that aired during WrestleMania, the graphics look much better. But all we saw was a short clip of Rey Mysterio 619ing Cesaro. So we don't know anything other than the memes that came out, where the tagline's something like "It hits different," and people have swapped the letters around and said "It's shit." So that was pretty funny. But yeah, that is all of my news. But we have a bit of Formula One news, don't we, Sean?
Yeah, we do. I was actually going to leave with that, but we'll go with it. F1 2021. Codemasters have come out and announced the game. Well, we knew a game was coming anyway, but an actual release date. A couple of details about the game, and the release date did get leaked early. I think it was last week or the week before. It accidentally got put up on the Microsoft Store too soon. But it is being released on the 16th of July. The biggest bit of news coming out of it is that they have a new mode being called Breaking Point. For anyone that's played FIFA, it looks like it's going to be similar to The Journey, that it's a story-based mode where you start in F2. And for anyone who's played the 2019 game, Devon Butler will return, who was kind of like your rival during your career mode when you started in F2.
You'll get to play as Mazepin during his off-season. As a build. No. You won't. We don't condone anything he did. Scum.
But yes, so there's not a huge amount of details at the moment, but it does look like it's going to follow that sort of story where you'll be playing some parts and also probably choose different options to drive the story forward off the track as well. And those will probably affect probably what team you can go into, how you perform, how different teams like you, and how you progress forward. How deep they'll go into how many seasons there will be, not sure. But I should imagine if you're starting F2, it'll probably be a rise from F2 into F1. Whether it goes all the way to being a champion, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, limited details on that. They did also say that that Portimao, Imola, and the Jeddah circuits will be coming to the game, but not on release date. There'll be free post-launch content.
Nice.
It'll be mainly just because, one, we only found out about the actual layout of the Jeddah circuits a few weeks ago, so they need to take time to make it in the game and get the dimensions right. They're not. I believe the tracks in the game aren't perfect. They're not like laser created. But obviously it takes time to make the layout and get it into the game. The same with Portimao and Imola. Imola might not be as bad, might be sooner. They had it previously in games. It was a circuit used before. And Portimao, the first time will be in the games. So again, it will take a little while for them to get into it, but they've had a bit more time with Jeddah. With Portimao over Jeddah because they know already what the circuit's like.
Yeah.
They've also announced, which is quite exciting, that they'll have an actual 2-player career, which will be online as well, not just split screen. So you can either play. By the sounds of it, it looks like you can either choose different teams and race for your own team, or you can both join the same team and work together as a single team to try and win the Drivers and Constructors Championship.
Nice.
So that's quite interesting. And then just saying that basically everything from last year will also return. So my team will stay, your normal split screen will stay, your option for a shorter season will stay. The F2 cars and drivers will also be in there this year, and that they're updating everything like visuals and loading times for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. It is available to pre-order now. I believe it's like standard £50 like usual, but there is also a digital deluxe edition, which will also give you 7 iconic F1 drivers to use in my team. There's no information on who those drivers are yet. But yeah, it looks like you have a chance to start. If you buy this extra version, then you'll get the chance of these other 7 drivers who you can sign to your team in my team. So
Nice.
if you're someone who enjoyed my team and you're going to get the game, you might as well pre-order this version because you're going to get something extra. Yeah. You also get loads of pit coins if you're interested in it's a battle pass style sort of thing where you get liveries.
A lot of games
They're never that great,
adopting the battle pass style.
Yeah, so I don't have any problem with it. I see why they're doing it because it's just a way of continuous income. Like obviously previously a lot of games you'd buy the game and that's it. Once someone's bought the game, you're not getting any more money. Whereas this way, especially if they're ones like, because it was really Fortnite that started this. As long as they're purely aesthetic and you don't get any benefit or like it doesn't help you in the game anyway, then I don't see any issue with it. Which Formula 1 was the case.
I think Call of Duty does it well.
Because they have the free version too.
Yeah.
Where at least anything that does help you in a game, like the guns, are if you don't want to pay for it, you still unlock them. But yeah, Formula 1 is all aesthetic based, so it's just different car liveries, it's different gloves, helmet, suit design, stuff like that. But yeah, so if you're like me, a fan of the F1 games, you can now pre-order the next version of the game. 16th of July is release date.
May possibly see more of that sort of content on this channel in the future, but we shall see. No promises.
Maybe
that is a possibility. Continue.
Well, yeah, obviously, so there's been utilised for the PS5. If you're a PS5 owner, you would have had an update. Yesterday it came out, I believe. Yesterday or today.
Yesterday.
Very first update or like system update for the PS5. It's not a huge one. I literally did it while we were setting this up. It took 5 minutes. Main thing being is that you can now store PS5 games on an external hard drive. You previously couldn't. It was only PS4 games.
That is helpful.
You still can't play them directly from the external hard drive, though. You still have to move them over to the console before booting up the game. It's a bit of a nuisance.
I didn't actually know that part.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nuisance.
Wow.
But I don't believe it takes long to copy game over, but it just gives you a bit more freedom with the space. Because obviously it's not a huge amount of space just on the console as it is, and with games, especially things like GTA, Warzone, or the Call of Duty recently getting so much bigger, you can be very limited to space. But at least there's no option that your newer games can be moved over to there.
Mm-hmm.
The new social features for PS4 and PS5. I believe there's like a quicker way you can invite to games. I think it is, from what I'm seeing.
They also, I believe, I don't know if it was with this update or if it was last week or something, but I think they got rid of communities on PS5 and PS4. There used to be like you could set up communities for different games, like any sort of game, and like a lot of people would share stuff on there. But I'm pretty sure that's completely gone now, which was fair enough, I guess. I didn't personally use it, so I can't really comment, but that is something that has gone or is going. So,
okay. You can customize your game library with a new update as well, so you can hide games from view. Why you want to do that, I'm not really sure. Maybe just if you know you're going to, or like you finish with a game, you don't want to uninstall it, but you know you're not going to come back to it. You can just leave it off, so it's quick to switch between other games. Can zoom in on the screen if so more of an accessibility update if that's something that you need. And I think probably one of the biggest ones, which actually isn't mentioned there, but if you do have the disc version of the console, there was an issue where probably about every hour or so, if you were using a disc, it would spin loudly and quite fast, which can be a bit annoying. Obviously, it doesn't affect any performance or anything, but they seem to have, in this update, fixed that. So you shouldn't experience that anymore if you had been with the disc version. Obviously, the digital version owners like myself have no issues because there's no disc tray for that to be an issue, but that is now solved for you.
Mm-hmm. Good. That is one thing that was annoying. The constant spinning when you're watching like Disney Plus or Netflix or something.
It's probably more like anyone who's recording gameplay or like streaming or anything. It probably helps if maybe you're not using as better quality, so you can't block out certain sounds that you no longer hear that, and just general, just nicer to not have noise next to you, especially if like me and you have your console quite close to you. That'd be a bit annoying if it was constantly whirring in your ear.
Agreed.
Jimmy, we're finally gonna get a new Warzone map. It's finally coming. It's taken over a year.
On what date, Sean?
The date it's coming is the 21st of April. So as today, 6 days. As you're listening to this, 5 days.
Oh,
well,
are they actually doing it as soon as the battle pass ends?
Right. So as far as I believe, from what I've seen, you won't actually get the new map immediately. So the event is on the 21st. Is what they've been teasing. This nuke event, to take out the map. So what I believe it's
the end is here, Sean.
It's like previously where an event happened and it will like last for a day, a couple of days. So it gives a chance for people to, I think, log into the game and experience the event, because it won't be a one-time thing. It'll be if you go into a game, it'll
be like the Cold
happen
War
for you. Yeah, I think it'll be similar to that. But yes, I don't think we'll get the new map immediately. But it might be a case of over a few days you'll have this and it will switch over. Well, I've said we're going to get a new map. It's not quite a new map, is it, Jimmy? Because we were going to get a new map. And
allegedly, it's not. We haven't 100%.
Yeah.
But
from data miners and usual leakers and things, it now looks like we're going to get a different 1980s version of Verdansk. So it's not going to be completely new. They were making a new map, but apparently what they're doing is putting some of the areas from the new map into Verdansk and giving it a 1980s feel, so it's more in line with Cold War.
Which I don't personally mind. As long as
I don't mind it.
Yeah.
But it's taken them 6 months since the release of the game to to do that.
Yeah.
I know they're technically separate games, but the whole point is that it runs alongside, and
they're separate games, but Warzone
did come out after Modern Warfare, so it was halfway through like the Modern Warfare cycle. So it is a year after Warzone came out as a mode. So you can say from that point it's kind of where you expect to get a new map. But I think especially with games like Fortnite who update a map more frequently, people expected it sooner, and especially because so little changed on the map. There probably was there 3 different things that maybe happened. So you had like stadium opening,
opening, train station opening, the nuclear cycle, nuclear bunker things, and all of like the quality of life changes, such as the zip lines and stuff. Not zip lines, the abseiling things.
But the thing is, like the zip lines up the buildings was probably the most game-changing feature. Well, the ship obviously brought zombies, but apart from that, the game didn't really change much because of it, because of the other ones. Whereas other games with their frequent updates, it seems to change the game a bit more.
Oh my god, Sean! It's a zombie outbreak localized in one area of the map each time, which you have to activate yourself, and only 40 zombies spawn.
Yeah, definitely worthy of a nuke. But anyway, so if you're still playing the game, despite all the numerous hackers and ridiculous methods in the game, you are going to get a new map soon. So we'll try it out. We'll let you know when it comes out.
We can bring this up here as well. There has been a new hack revealed. I watched actually a Jack Frags video that went up on this, and it allows the hacker to ping anyone, anywhere, like just ping them so he knows who they are through the building. Also, the ability to use night vision goggles, which aren't in Warzone, funnily enough. That's not a thing.
Yeah. Well, it might be because they're able to use it. It might be something that's been added in that
it's because
could come in.
The Modern Warfare mission in the campaign,
right,
where you use night vision goggles. Yeah.
So they're in the game, and it's just managed to bring it into
But apparently, I think it was the same guy, but in Jack Frag's video, he did say that this guy made his own hacks, and he doesn't sell them. And he said he's been doing it for 5 months and hasn't been caught, despite Activision and Raven vehemently saying that they've been banning 50,000 accounts every time.
But apparently he did get banned immediately after this video went up.
Of course he did, because it became big attention.
Oh, yeah. So he's a bit of an idiot for doing that himself. It wasn't him. It was somebody who spectated him, isn't it? But yeah, it's ridiculous that they can't seem to fix this issue and stop.
It's just worse because
so many hackers.
I know I've got a lot more free time than most people, so I'll flick on a streamer every so often, like Stone Mountain or something on Facebook, and the first game I watch them play, they get killed by hackers every single time, and it's ridiculous.
So I don't think I've seen a game affected by hackers as badly as this. It's ridiculous.
It is terrible. But anyway,
final bit of gaming one is, well, we won't have much information on it, but it's just that, well, tonight as we're recording it, yesterday as you're watching it, if you watch it on release day, there's a Resident Evil showcase, so they'll be showing or let us know some more information on the upcoming Resident Evil Village game,
which does come out May the 10th, I believe. Just so
obviously we'll probably discuss it next week, but if you are looking forward to the game, looking into it, you'll be able to go and watch that now as you're watching this, or after this. Finish this first, then go watch it.
The 7th of May it comes out.
7th of May. So yeah, we'll have some more information on that game. We don't have it now because it's not happening until sometime later. 11 p.m. It's not 11 p.m. yet.
Late enough for us to not have time to record the podcast.
So yeah, if you're a Resident Evil fan, you'll be up as you're watching this to be able to go and find out the information. But we'll also discuss it next week, I should imagine, when we know what other information we know. Yeah,
I mean, not much else to say about that. Onto a bit of sporting news, I think now, Sean, isn't it? That's all we've got left, haven't we?
Yeah, before the lovely main topic.
For the best part of the podcast.
if I say so. Anyway, last week I did talk a little bit about the fact that we had the Grand National over the weekend. And actually, a record-breaking one. Rachel Blackmore became the first female jockey to win the Grand National. She's been on fantastic form recently, a great Cheltenham Festival, and then obviously one here on Manila Times. It was, well, the race was just dominated by Irish trained horses. Jimmy, you won't know this. So, out of the first 11 to finish, how many horses do you think were British trained or UK English trained?
1.
You are correct. Number 6, sixth place Black Lion was the only UK trained horse in the top 11, which is just ridiculous. Only 15 horses finished as well.
Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, Rachel Blackmore's been amazing. For me, she's like an early pick for Sports Personality of the Year. But the problem is with horse racing not having as huge a following as other sports, it's unlikely that it will happen. And by the time we come around to the end of the year, anybody, like your casual fans who only maybe bet on the Grand National every year or watch the Grand National, will probably have forgotten about it and will vote for someone else. But she's my pick. She's been fantastic and is really shining a light on the sport at the moment for how well she's doing. And it's a great role model to any young women out there who want to get into horse racing. And other things I spoke about last week is the Masters, where I gave a thrilling portion where I had no idea who the favourites were because the competition had started. But it's another first, actually, in this, is that Hideki Matsuyama became the first Japanese golfer to win the Masters. I believe he was also Japan's first male major golf tournament winner. They had a female a week, 2 weeks before. But yeah, the first male. He beat off Will Zalatoris for second, who was actually an amateur.
You're English and you really said he beat off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fended off, he beat, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zalatoris, who was actually an amateur, is his first time in the Masters, and he came second with a total score of 9 under par, which is absolutely ridiculous. So fantastic from him. It did look like Matsuyama would actually lose at the end. I think he went into the final day with like a 4 or 5 shot lead and only won by one shot. He was going around on the final round with I think it's Schauffeler, how you pronounce it. He looked like he was going to win at one point, and then I think it was the 16th hole just absolutely ruined it for himself. Went into the water, and from there just fell apart. But yeah, it's a great Masters. It was nice and wide open one this year. So really close. So Matsuyama was 10 under par, Zalatoris was 9 under. Then Schauffeler and Spieth were both 7 under, and then 2 at 6 under of Ram and Leishman. And there wasn't really like a real clear favourite going into it. Yeah, so it's interesting to watch. But unfortunately, we've got to wait a whole year for more. But well done to Hideki Matsuyama, first Japanese Masters winner.
Yeah. Are we all out of non-wrestling news?
I'll have some more.
Okay.
We'll move on to a bit of football before we move on to wrestling. I don't know if we spoke about actually, but a few weeks ago there was an issue in a Europa League game between Rangers and Sparta Prague, where Kamara for Rangers was allegedly racially abused by Kudela of Sparta Prague. Yesterday. There bans were handed out for the incident. Kudela has a 10-match ban for racial abuse, and Kamara himself has received a 3-match ban for basically causing a fight. I don't know the technical term of it and what they said, but it's effectively causing a fight. I'll quickly try and find it if I can. But then it did bring up some questions of like how the bans are issued. People especially bringing up Kieran Trippier, which if you didn't know, a few months ago he was handed a 13-match ban for for betting is a betting issue where he told a friend that he was moving to Atletico before it was announced he was moving, and I think his friend only won like £24 or something stupid like that as well. He didn't even put that much money on it, but people calling out how ridiculous it is that he's got a 13-match ban for that, whereas somebody who's racially abused another player is only getting 10.
Should be sacked, never be able to play again.
So every time this happens, it always seems to be UEFA as well, that they just it appears they don't take it seriously enough.
Don't preach kick racism out of football if you're just going to give people bans and slaps on the wrists. You got to kick them out of football.
Yeah, you've got to do more, and they don't seem to be doing enough when it comes to this. Which, yeah, is disgraceful. And other people also questioning why Kamara got his 3-match ban, saying that, well, there was a reason behind why the fight happened. It's a tough one because obviously at the end of the day, you've still got to kind of stick to the rules of you can't do that, but it is also a case of there is very good reason why it happened, and I believe anybody in that situation would have done the exact same thing. So, yeah. But I think there's a lot less issue with that Kamara's ban than there is with how short Kudel's is, and if it should have only just been a ban or anything like that.
Yeah, bit of a joke.
Yeah. Happier news, though, is that fans are returning to football for the League Cup final. We will have fans at Wembley, only 8,000, so a tenth of the capacity of the stadium. 2,000 for each team, and 4,000 will be like NHS and frontline workers. So that's quite nice to see that they're giving something there, more than the government will give them. So that's we don't cover that. That's not part of our thing, but yeah, we're slowly getting fans back, which is great. It's not been nice not being able to go to games. As someone who's been very lucky in recent years to be able to go to Champions League games to watch Liverpool and Cup games and a few league games, it'll be nice to be able to get back to doing that. And it'll just make sport a lot better. It's not the same sitting at home watching it if you could be in the stadium. And I think you can tell that over the past year it's affected the teams a lot as well, of how they've played. Some teams struggling without fans, and a lot less of a home advantage in certain games where obviously you have the crowd on your side. But we're slowly getting there, Jimmy. We're slowly getting back.
A big example of a team that has been struggling with a home advantage. No, I'm actually going to say United.
Oh, okay.
Liverpool as well.
Solskjaer spoke about it, didn't he, actually?
They're changing the seat coverings to black or something.
Yeah.
Because it was an old Fergie thing where at halftime he told us to get rid of our grey shirts or something and replace them because the players struggled to find each other on the pitch. And I believe that's the reason. It's a bit of a superstitious one, but
I don't know. I actually agree with him there because a lot of people bring the case of, oh well, but what happens when you have 60,000 fans in there in their replica shirts?
Colours.
Yeah, but if you ever look at a crowd of people, it's so broken up. There's so few people who actually wear like the red of the team. It gets broken up a lot more. And there's also a thing when Klopp first came to Liverpool, the nets at Anfield were red, and he changed them to white, saying that he wanted to change them because it was harder for the players to find the back of basically to find the goal with a red background, with the red nets, with the red background. And I think it's the same here. A lot of people are like making a joke out of it as Solskjaer of going, well, what about the fans when they wear their tops? But I genuinely back him on it. I think it's a genuine reason, and because
the point is, it's not the fact that the players are going to look in the crowd and say, oh, I should pass there. It's the fact that when you've got an all red background and you're wearing red shirts, it's hard to pick them out on the pitch That's the reason.
Yeah, especially when everything's done at such a high speed and you need to make split-second decisions. You don't have the time to look and pick out, is that a seat, is that a shirt, something like that. It does actually make a difference. So I agree with him on it. A bit late now, I think, to do anything about it. Is if you're going to do it, you should have done it months ago. But it is probably one of those things where they didn't realise, sort of thing, and then it just either someone who looks into that sort of thinking and went, "Oh, we've thought about this," much later on. But yeah. And one more thing on football is we did have the Champions League quarterfinals this week. I don't really want to talk about it, but we will, because for once, PSG and Man City have not bottled it so far. Obviously, PSG did make it to the final last year, but neither team yet to win a Champions League, and it looks like this could be their best chance. They do have to play each other next, so one of them will miss out. So on Tuesday, we had Chelsea go through against Porto. Went through 2-1 on aggregate. It was 1-0 to Porto on the night, but they will face off against Real Madrid in the semi-final, who beat my beloved Liverpool 3-1 on aggregate. The score from the first game ended 0-0 in the second one. God help us, why can't we score? I don't know what's wrong with us. We would never get a better chance to beat Real Madrid, the amount of chances we had. I saw someone say, like, and I completely agree, it's not a case of it was too much of a mountain to climb to get over to win the game. It was more of what could have been that we're missing chances. And the other game from Tuesday was obviously the PSG Bayern Munich. It looked like Bayern Munich would make a comeback and actually go through, but PSG went through on away goals. Bayern scored fairly early to go ahead in that game, make it 3-1 aggregate, but PSG had the 3 away goals from the first game, and Munich just couldn't hit the target. To be fair, PSG had a couple of chances to actually put the game to bed and comfortably go through. So it was a really good game to watch. And then the final one yesterday was Man City, Borussia Dortmund. Again, Dortmund looked like they could come back and cause an upset with an early goal, but a penalty for City and a late goal from Phil Foden, who I say late, the 75th minute, but later on in the game, sealed it for them. And Foden's been looking amazing. It was Bellingham who actually scored Dortmund's goal, so looking bright for England for the Euros with their young players on form. Whether they'll get played, we'll have to wait and see, and whether they can work together in a team. But it was nice to see some young English players actually doing well, especially coming up to a big summer for us.
Some more football news as it comes right now. The games
don't care about Man U and Europa League.
I was actually going to bring up Arsenal more than Man U, because Arsenal are currently 3-0 up against Slavia Prague, and it's only the first half still. So they're winning 4-1 on aggregate, and it's looking like Manchester United are going to go through over Granada as well, also 3-0 up on aggregate. So yeah, good for
but
English.
Obviously, as you're watching this, you'd know the scores of what happened. We don't currently, but
we do
as of the time you're watching this, you'll know.
But yeah, that's it for all our sport news, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it time for the big daddy? Time for the big daddy of them all. All right, fuck WWE. Yeah. Let's pull out a fucking massive promo on this now. We'll start off with. I think we'll leave the cards until last because we got 3 cards to talk about. So first we'll bring up the fact that the Raw after WrestleMania was absolute dog shit. Wouldn't recommend going to watch it. I would rather watch paint dry for 3 hours than going to watch that again. But the Viking Raiders did return. That was a good thing. Charlotte Flair returned. And that was it. The rest was dog shit. But anyway, moving on to why we're saying fuck WWE. A mere 15 minutes before this happened, an hour ago, by the way. A mere 15 minutes after WWE tweeted John Cena and Dave Bautista battle all over the arena in an I Quit match, they released about 8 superstars on their roster. And some of them are pretty big names. So the release superstars: Mickey James, a legend, very misused, and I think she pretty much said to them before as well, either use me or just let me go. So she's been let go. Chelsea Green never really got a chance. She was suffering from an injury. Every time she's debuted, she's been injured. Uh, we thought she'd get more of a chance, but no. See you later. Wesley Blake was was ceremoniously chucked out alongside his tag team partners. Well, one of them's still in the company. The one that is actually the problem, Jackson Riker, is actually still with the company, and he's prominently featured on TV as Elias's little lackey, which is one of the reasons Raw's shit. But yeah, Wesley Blake, goodbye. Former NXT Tag Team Champion Wesley Blake. Tucker, Otis's partner, ex-partner in Heavy Machinery. If there were fans in the arena when Tucker turned heel on Otis, he would have had at least a feud with Otis. But he got nothing, and he's gone. Kalisto. I haven't seen Kalisto in about a year. I'm not surprised, but at the same time, he's a very good wrestler. And the fact he wasn't used, or at least given to NXT to compete in the Cruiserweight division, is a disgrace. Bo Dallas. Again, someone who hasn't been on TV in probably 2 years. I think the last time...
I no longer believe in life, Jimmy.
No. Former NXT champion Bo Dallas has been released from the company and hasn't been used in 2 years either. He was apparently very well liked backstage, so while it's not a shock that he's gone, it's a shock that they released him and didn't use him at all beforehand. And now we get to... These are all bad, but we get to the worst ones in my opinion. Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe. One of the most underrated wrestlers of all time. Came in from TNA, was awesome in TNA, came over to WWE, should have been a world champion, wasn't. He's been on commentary for like a year and a half now, maybe longer. But yeah, just we thought they completely changed around the commentators on Raw. So Corey Graves came in for Samoa Joe, and Adnan Virk, I think his name is, who was a former ESPN, and he did like MLB shows and stuff. He's come in to take over the role of Tom Phillips, who's pretty good. I like Tom Phillips. He's done like everything in WWE. He's been on every announce table, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that Tom Phillips has been let go as well. But Samoa Joe being let go is terrible, and he didn't get what he deserved in this company. And now the two who I think are probably the biggest ones, Peyton Royce and Billy Kay, the Iconics. What was the point in breaking up the Iconics if the whole point was they wanted Peyton Royce to go on a good singles run? So they've let her go. Yeah, she's now on a good singles run. Yeah, away from the company. Billy Kay is one of the best women in ring. She's not the best. On the mic, she is probably the funniest person in that company, and the fact that they couldn't do anything with her is ridiculous. It reminds me of Drake Maverick when they had the whole Black Friday release, whatever that was, a year ago, just after last WrestleMania. I think it was just after. And they released Drake Maverick, but then hired him back because everyone was like, if you can't do something good with Drake Maverick, you're just a terrible company. But Drake's doing alright in NXT now. But Peyton Royce and Billy Kay are gone, and I hope they go to AEW, bring back the Iconics. It makes sense because...
I was going to say, how many of these do you think will end up in AEW now?
Mickey James will probably go to the NWA because her husband is Nick Aldis, I think, who is the NWA champion. Samoa Joe, genuinely think he might retire. But that doesn't mean he might not show. He might go back to Impact. He might go... Impact is the newer TNA. Kalisto could go anywhere. Bo Dallas again. No idea. Chelsea Green, Impact Wrestling. Deonna Purrazzo is her best friend or one of her best friends. She's currently the Impact Wrestling champion. Wesley Blake and Tucker, no fucking clue. But Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, I definitely see going to AEW simply because they're such an asset to that company. A company that wants to start up doing better women's wrestling and a women's tag division. So, yeah, I'd see them going there. Plus, Peyton Royce is going out with Shawn Spears. They're married. Not even going out. They are married. And he's also now prominently featured on AEW. Yeah, ridiculous. But we'll move on from that and just go to NXT Takeover Night 2, which is where I talk a lot. So, Night 2 of Stand and Deliver. We already talked about Night 1 last podcast, so go back and see that if you want our thoughts, opinions, whatever. But Night 2, I'm going to run through it quite quickly because we got the WrestleMania card to go through. Pre-show match featured Killian Dane and Drake Maverick taking on Breezango. Killian Dane and Drake Maverick got the win here, and they got a shot at the NXT Tag Team Championships, which took place on NXT this week, which NXT was a good show. It featured all of the women's champions that won at WrestleMania come onto NXT and they all celebrated and stuff like that. But yeah, the next one was to unify the NXT Cruiserweight Champion because there were two champions due to COVID. And that was Jordan Devlin taking on Santos Escobar. Santos Escobar got the win here, the correct win in my personal opinion. And Jordan Devlin will be heading back to the UK. Fun for him. Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart successfully defended against The Way, which is Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell's on in a really good storyline on NXT, where there's a character called Dexter Lumis, and he's kind of like a serial killer type guy, but he's a good guy, but he gives off very much Dexter vibes, and she's sort of in love with him. So she faked being injured or something, and he picked her up and carried her to the back, and she went like this to the camera and then faked being injured and went back down, and that was really funny. Johnny Gargano also successfully defended his North American Championship against Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed won during Night 1 in the Gauntlet Eliminator match, I believe it was, and got this opportunity, which he lost. But they're still in the storyline on NXT right now. Finn Balor was defending his NXT Championship against Karrion Kross, former NXT champion who got injured and had to release the title after only like a few days with it. Same thing happened to Finn Balor on the main roster when he was Universal Champion, the first ever Universal Champion. But this was Karrion Kross reclaiming the title he lost. Yeah, we're gonna see that continue on. Finn Balor is no longer champion. He may go back to the main roster, or he may just compete on the mid card in NXT. And the final match of the night was an unsanctioned match between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, former Undisputed Era stablemates. And Kyle O'Reilly got the big dub here. He got the big win, which was good. Kyle deserved this win. There was a funny thing on NXT they showed of both Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole being wheeled off to hospital, and a security camera thing caught them, and Adam Cole was just shouting abuse, saying he was going to kill Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly was just sitting there getting wheeled along, just like listening to it. It was quite unintentionally funny. But yeah, that was NXT Takeover. Great show overall. Not my favorite NXT Takeover, but it might be some people's. It was nice to have a little bit of a crowd, not as much as an NXT Takeover would have, but enough where it had a sort of a decent atmosphere that helped elevate some of the matches when people weren't being lazy in the crowd. But speaking of people being lazy in the crowd, WrestleMania, Sean. That's a bit harsh. WrestleMania was actually a show Sean watched. He did in fact watch. I didn't expect him to watch it, so I'm
No, I
actually
paid
surprised.
the £10 for the WWE network, so they don't offer a 3 month of subscription again,
No,
like they used to. Ridiculous. So I'm why they
I
stopped.
mean, there's a
Money grabbing bastards.
I mean, it's because you could just cancel it, and they don't want people getting free pay-per-views all the time. But we will start off with night one, as expected. Bobby
Thought we'd
Lashley.
start with Night 2.
We'll start off with night two, then, just to switch things up. Night
No,
one,
Night 1.
Bobby Lashley defending the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre. Great match, I thought personally. Drew McIntyre was distracted near the end by MVP, missed a Claymore kick, and was then passed out to Bobby Lashley, who held on the Hurt Lock. I personally think this was the right decision. A few months ago, I would have said Drew should win, but Bobby Lashley's for the past year has been a highlight. He's doing the best work of his career right now, and to give him the championship and take it away just to make Drew look good and have like his moment in front of a crowd, while I wouldn't have minded seeing it because I love Drew, I think it was right for Bobby Lashley to win here. Your opinion on that match, Sean?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised when they started with a championship match, to be honest, because I think normally that would be, especially with it being like one of the for the show, like the big title, they'd leave it for the end. But
they've done it. I think
yeah,
they did it last year and the year before. Year before they did Rollins versus Lesnar first, and then last year
I can't remember.
Last year they did. I know night two was Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair for the NXT Women's Championship. But yeah, I get your point. But the reasoning was because I think because it was a heel victory, they wanted it to go on first rather than last. And big spoiler here, because there were 14 matches between the two nights, and 12 of them were heel victories. I'm pretty sure. No, sorry, 11 of them were heel victories. My bad. Which is sending the fans home happy on the first WrestleMania back, or first pay-per-view back with fans. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Natalya and Tamina outlasted a wide variety of tag teams in a tag team turmoil match to earn a shot at Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler on night two. I think the match involved Billie Kay, she's gone now. What a disgrace, and Carmella. The Riot Squad, so Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Mandy, who slipped on her way to the ring, which was funny.
Not quite as good as Titus O'Neil
at
the Saudi Arabia Royal Rumble, but it was
speaking
close,
of Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan were the hosts, the very pointless hosts of WrestleMania, and Hulk Hogan got booed that badly that they had to edit in audio on top of it. Crowd cheers, so people didn't realize. There was also a weather delay during night one, which delayed the show by about 45 minutes, I believe, maybe an hour,
something like that.
I
don't think it was quite an hour. It wasn't quite an hour,
but it was great work. I'd say it was. This is a good example of why you don't script some people, like Big E, Seth Rollins. They all did some great work on the mic to open the show. Drew as well. But anyway, back to Natalya and Tamina, because that's the match everyone wants to talk about. What was your opinion on this match?
I didn't actually realise for a start that what kind of I watched it. It was in the background while I was working because I don't have time to watch 6 hours worth of stuff outside of it. So when it first came out, I wasn't aware that it was, I don't know the actual name of the match, but so teams would keep coming in. Yeah, it was one of those where I could have.
It was just an average match.
Yeah, like it was nice that it was like a gimmick match sort of thing, but at the end of the day, like it's nothing I was gonna shout about massively or anything like that. It was
Don't worry, I wasn't expecting you to have a big opinion.
It was a setup match anyway, wasn't it? Because it was a setup for a shot at the title. It wasn't for anything per se on its own, so it was never going to be a huge wow factor match.
In my opinion, the worst match of the night. But it wasn't bad. It was just bang average. It was just there. And now we move on to one of the best matches of the night, which was Cesaro defeating Seth Rollins. Cesaro better get a world title soon. He better be at the top. Let him beat the whoever the Universal Champion is by the end of the night, which you'll see. But let him beat that person and become the Universal Champion. He needs a world title. He's been in that company so long.
Yeah, is ridiculous. He's such a good wrestler. He's so likable. I was so glad that he actually got a WrestleMania win finally.
But yeah, Seth Rollins played his part really well in this. Put Cesaro over massively. They're really good friends in real life as well. Not to break kayfabe, but they are good friends. So I'm not surprised that he put him over this well. It was quite a short match actually. It only went just over 11 minutes, but it was an awesome match. And next match on the card, AJ Styles and Omos defeating the New Day to take the Raw Tag Team Championships. This match was always being set up for this case, and I thought it was actually a really fun match. It wasn't anything special, didn't overstay its welcome. The New Day were quite entertaining, just beating up AJ Styles, and then Omos coming in. Omos maybe could have reached forward a little bit and got a little bit of a hand towards AJ Styles, but he didn't. But he was really good in the ring. It was quite interesting. I just thought it was a really fun match. You?
I just can't get over how big Omos is. He's ridiculous. He is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, it was. So it's one of those like typical New Day matches, I think, where like you're not in the like the match for the technical wrestling. It is more for just I don't want to say a joke, but like that sort of jokey sort of thing that, like, especially at the start where Omos was going to come into the ring at the start and they managed to convince AJ Styles to come in, and then it was the whole bit of when Omos was coming, stuff like that. But yeah, so it's never like your big technical wrestling. It is more of it's a fun match.
Yeah.
Which it was.
It was. The next match we won't stay on too long because it was the match that I was least interested in. But it was better than it had any right to be, and that was Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon in a steel cage match. The build for this on Raw has been absolute dog shit, as has Raw. SmackDown is superior in every single way. But yeah, the match was average up until the whole thing where Shane was being cocky. He climbed out, was about to win, stuck his hand through to wave goodbye, and Strowman just grabbed it and then tore the cage off, pulled him in, and then chucked him off the top. That was really, really good. That was a very, very inventive spot, and I quite enjoyed that. I assume you probably had the same opinion with the match being average, but the end being better than it should have been.
So for a steel cage match, it should have been more entertaining. I think they normally are. The nice part of ripping the cage apart, but apart from that, there wasn't really much else to it, in my opinion.
Strowman should have beaten him in like 10 seconds. But we get to probably the most surprising match on the card, and that is Bad Bunny and Damian Priest taking on The Miz and John Morrison. This was a very impressive match. Bad Bunny was...
Hey. Oh.
It's terrible. That's their worst. That is their worst song they've done. The other two were at least good. This one was not. But yeah, Bad Bunny was...
I'm really sad the bunnies weren't involved in the fight. You should have kept the bunnies there. Could have had something insane going on with those.
Here's a big thing for you. one of those bunnies will be a future WWE champion one day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Genuinely, there's some NXT superstar under there that's going to be a big name one day. But yeah, Bad Bunny was amazing. Maybe, in my opinion, in many people's opinion, one of, if not the best celebrity match in WrestleMania or in wrestling. Like the only ones I can think
he
of.
did a lot more than Logan Paul. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, yeah. But Logan got what he needed to do. I actually didn't think Logan was that bad, but the only ones I can think that were either equal or just also good were Stephen Amell, formerly of Arrow, who's been involved in a lot of wrestling outside of WWE as well, but he was in WWE for a short bit. And also Pat McAfee, former NFL, I think he was a punter, but he's also big on Twitter, he's got his own show, his own radio show as well, podcast. But he was a major part of NXT during last year, and he had some really surprisingly great matches with Adam Cole. He was team captain in the War Games match for NXT, and he just did really well. I personally put Pat McAfee higher just because he did more, but Bad Bunny has been a consistently entertaining part of Raw, I would say, and he was really good here. It was just a really fun match. And
good entrance coming out on top of the big truck.
Yeah, he actually carried a lot of the match because Damian Priest wasn't fully fit. He only just got cleared. He was injured. So was John Morrison, but John Morrison I think was cleared a little bit before Damian Priest. So just for saving Damian Priest from being injured more, Bad Bunny took a lot of this match, and he was really good. And a lot of wrestlers.
And it's always nice to see the Miz getting mugged off. So.
Yeah. The Miz was WWE champion a few weeks ago, and he's not anymore.
Thank God.
Yeah. But Randy Orton and a few other wrestlers, but Randy Orton in particular, has come out and said that he considers Bad Bunny a wrestler now. Like he has a lot of respect for him because he trained so hard in the Performance Center. He actually went out of his way to do this. And it was revealed, like, I think in Night 2, that Bad Bunny will be going on tour, this next year. So, like, this was the time he had before he had to go on tour. So he decided, because he was a big WWE fan, he did it. He was really good. I recommend going and see that match if you haven't seen it. But we get to the main event of Night 1. The first main event in WrestleMania history, maybe in pay-per-view history for WWE, to feature two African-American women. Yeah, I mean, it would obviously be the first main event in WrestleMania, but as pay-per-view. And it was definitely, for me, the best match of the night. I just thought it was a really good affair. The opening stare down where Bianca Belair nearly started crying. Sasha Banks, while she was the heel of the match, you could tell she was like just happy she was in the moment. Bianca Belair did go on to win this match, and there was a video afterwards of Sasha Banks outside the ring, really like trying to sell her injuries, but also like really smiling, like because she really enjoyed it, which was really nice to see. The match was just really good. It actually, while the build hasn't been great for any match on this card, which seems to have been WWE under promising but over delivering, So yeah, Bianca, the best moment of the match for me was, there was two. There was Bianca lifting up Sasha Banks over her head and then climbing up the steel stairs to get into the ring. And also the hair whip, which, if anyone's seen the mark it left on Sasha Banks afterwards, she had a massive mark all the way down, and it looked brutal. It sounded like someone let off a gun in the arena, which wouldn't be far-fetched for America. So
Jesus Christ.
Controversial jokes. controversial jokes we have right here. But no, it was really good. It was really good. I apologise for my jokes. That was in poor taste, but that's what we're here for sometimes. Bit of levity to get us through this nightmare of a year. But yeah, awesome match.
Yeah, great match.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it really highlights as well, like how far the women's division's come as well. Like how much better the wrestling's got in recent years. Two absolute top wrestlers, top athletes, putting on a great show.
Mm-hmm. Bianca Belair is someone who hasn't been doing this for very long either. A few years at the most. She was, but she's a very athletic person. She trained very hard, and you can see the difference between her early days in NXT and then moving on to where she is now. She's just so much better, just so great in ring. But yeah, that is night one. Overall, I had a hell of a time watching night one. I thought it was a really good show, and if that was all for the pay-per-view, then I would have been totally fine. Then night two happened, and the show kicked off with Randy Orton taking on the Fiend. The Fiend was murdered by Randy Orton back at TLC, I believe. He was set on fire, and he disappeared and only came back at Fastlane, I believe. Was it Fastlane? It might have been Fastlane.
Yes, Fastlane.
Yeah, and the Fiend came back with his all charred look. But in this, it opened with the Fiend walking through some magical, mysterious tunnel and suddenly being fixed, which I was fine with, whatever. The entrance was cool, like the whole Alexa Bliss coming out, winding up the Jack in the Box, and the Fiend coming out. That was really cool. And then the ending happened. This match lasted 5 minutes and 50 seconds. 5 minutes and 50 seconds.
Didn't realise it was that short. Jesus.
And you'd think, 5 minutes and 50 seconds, the Fiend must have got his big win. No, Randy Orton pinned him. Randy Orton hit an RKO and pinned him.
I mean, it was with a little help, wasn't it? There was a distraction.
Alexa Bliss kind of came out and I like the Alexa Bliss thing. Her coming out and have all this black shit dripping down her face. That was really cool. It was a really good visual. And then when Randy Orton hit the RKO, I thought, okay, this is just gonna put the Fiend on. No, 1, 2, 3. He actually beat the Fiend. 4 months after he was off TV and then came back, and he should have won in his return match. But no, he beat the Fiend. Randy Orton beat the Fiend, and not only that. Raw did where the Raw after WrestleMania confirmed that Alexa Bliss is going off in her own direction as her own spooky character.
I was gonna put this to you. Do you think that that ending would set up a whole thing for the Fiend then, kind of versus Alexa Bliss sort of thing?
I think it still might happen. No, it might still happen, but Bray Wyatt was also on the show. And he did a bit of a
as in Bray Wyatt, just as himself.
Bray Wyatt, as in the Firefly Funhouse, his kid presenter one. And he was just I feel like this is a fresh start. This is all this. It was quite a funny segment. I actually did like the Firefly Funhouse segment. Probably one of the better parts of Raw. But the worst part about all this is Randy Orton beat the Fiend and then lost in the main event of Raw, which was a triple threat match to decide who faces Bobby Lashley at the next pay-per-view, which is going to be WrestleMania Backlash. What a terrible name. Why would you call it WrestleMania Backlash? Just call it Backlash. But yeah, Randy Orton was pinned by Drew McIntyre in that match. So we're getting a rematch. Which is why it's called WrestleMania.
Which they could have done easily anyway without the triple threat match.
Well, they shouldn't have done. Well, no, the triple threat match was actually the best way to get there because WWE doesn't really do automatic rematches anymore.
They used to.
They got rid of it. Except the fact that they did an automatic rematch.
They're always a bit stupid.
Well, except the fact that on Raw they did a rematch for the Raw Women's title, which Charlotte Flair came out and broke up because she's a fucking bitch. No, she's an awesome wrestler, but I just can't stand Charlotte. Like many. But yeah, that was the first match on the card. I assume you have the same opinion of it. It was very lackluster. It should have
Yeah,
been better.
so
You
if
don't really
I could
know the
understand
storyline, but yeah.
if it was to set up something bigger, but now you said that it doesn't really seem that much of a case, then yeah, it's a bit of a okay then.
Well, Raw was shit, so I don't know what Raw's setting up anymore. Anyway, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler actually defending their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against Natalia and Tamina. This went as many expected, with the champions retaining. I mean, Tamina got a lot of sympathy from the crowd. Not sympathy, but she got a lot of chants. I personally was pulling for Tamina. You know, the Tamina train shall roll on. But no, it didn't.
Choo-choo.
Choo choo indeed. As Braun Strowman would say, choo choo. Um, but no, it didn't happen. Again, like the tag match, this match was better. This match was much better than the tag match before. But I wasn't optimistic about Night 2 of WrestleMania at this point. I was like, Night 1's definitely better. But yeah, from here on out, it gets better, guys. Don't worry, it does get better. Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn in a match where Sami Zayn was accompanied by Logan Paul, who sat at ringside and did nothing except make dumb reactions, which was fine actually. I kind of enjoyed it. It wasn't that bad. Sammy looked like at one point he was going to win the match because he hit the haluva kick, but he didn't go for the pin. And then Kevin Owens hit the stunner, got the win, and Logan Paul got in the ring, had a bit of an argument with Sami Zayn, pushed Sami Zayn down, and Kevin Owens was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because he went to raise his hand, and Owens just stunned him, and he actually sold it really well. I give props to Logan Paul; he sold that stunner really well.
Yeah,
He did his role. WWE did the stupid thing where
you
they
kind of expect that though, because Logan was a wrestler, wasn't he, when he was younger? So
not that type,
although
but yeah. Like,
I know not, but he would have some sort of experience of being in a ring and yeah.
WWE's poor taste of showing Jake Paul on WWE TV just moments after he got accused of sexual assault or sexual harassment. Whether that's true or not, no idea. But I don't want to see Jake Paul on my TV anyway. Logan, I can take. Logan, I can take. Yeah, that was actually a really good match. It could have been longer. I felt like a lot of the matches on the card were just really short. For WrestleMania, it was quite disappointing. But they weren't bad. They were just short. But next up, Sheamus defeating Matt Riddle, or just Riddle now, for the US Championship. A lot of stuff has come out about this afterwards, that Riddle wasn't even meant to be champion. It was meant to be Keith Lee. But Keith Lee has a lot of behind the scenes, I think some sort of health issues or something. I don't want to assume anything. So he's not been on TV for months, which is a real shame, because Keith Lee's awesome. But yeah, Sheamus got the win here. Apparently he wasn't even supposed to win, but they changed their mind last second. Typical WWE. And they changed their mind to continue the feud or something, which they didn't reflect on Raw because Sheamus wasn't on Raw this week, and Matt Riddle got beaten to a pulp by Bobby Lashley in the opening match. So, yeah, but this match was awesome. There was a couple of botches where Sheamus went for a top rope white noise, but accidentally slipped off, but saved it and just did a white noise on the mat anyway. And the finish was an awesome brogue kick while Riddle was upside down, like doing a flip, and it genuinely smashed his mouth open, his bleeding and everything. I really enjoyed this match. One of, I think, the best match of the night so far, in my opinion. What did you think?
Yeah, so a lot. I think it's pretty similar for a lot of the Night 2 fights, where just a bit of they happened.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I was not as invested at this point as I was in Night 1.
For saying it as like it's the first like WrestleMania or like it's a WrestleMania back in front of fans. It's kind of like the big thing that it's back in front of fans again after so long. It just seemed to be a lot of just meh. Like I feel like there's a lack of like your WrestleMania moments sort of thing. I don't think it's one that you're gonna look back in a year's time and go, "Oh, I remember when this happened," like you do with other ones. It's yeah. I feel like Night Two definitely cemented that. It was just it didn't feel special. Like a lot of matches didn't feel special. Like they're a big thing, and even though it was like one of the better fights, it was still just okay. None of them really felt like they were meaning much or like ending much or something like that.
Yeah, WrestleMania is meant to be the place where feuds go to die, where this is the end of the feud. But
So
it
it's
felt
kind of like the start of the new year for wrestling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or the end of the year, start of the new year for like the wrestling calendar.
But for a lot of this, like the opening match, just of Night Two, the opening match of Night Two just felt like set up for a Fiend storyline. The second match was a conclusion, I guess. Third match was also a conclusion, kinda, but the Sami Zayn storyline is still going. Fourth match felt like a lot of them just felt like, you know, they were either continuing or they were just sort of. We'll get to this next match. Apollo Crews defeating Big E to win the Intercontinental Championship in a Nigerian drum fight. This match only lasted 6 minutes and 50 seconds. It was called a Nigerian drum fight, but they used kendo sticks for the majority of this match. Literally, I believe it was called a Nigerian drum fight before they even knew what a Nigerian drum fight would be. And they were just like, let's just make it a no DQ like weapons match, which is what it was, with a couple drums outside. But it was good. It was good for how long it was. It was just short and it was good. I really liked the ending with Biggie hitting, I believe, Apollo Crews through the table with a big ending, going for the pin, but then a wild Dabba-Kato appears, Raw Underground's Dabba-Kato, who apparently the commentators didn't recognize, even though he was like a pretty big feature on Raw Underground a few months ago, but they treat us like idiots. But yeah, Dabba-Kato came out. I looked this up while the show was up, and I think I posted a tweet about it saying that he's apparently going under the name Commodore Aziz now, and he will be alongside Apollo Crews, being his like henchman, like Apollo Crews, not Apollo Crews, like AJ Styles and Omos are doing, kind of, which is cool. I'm all for him coming on screen. I liked the ending. I like that Apollo Crews actually finally won the Intercontinental Championship, because this was his 7th attempt, I believe, and like 4 of them have been against Big E at least. So yeah, it was about time. Big E hopefully gets elevated from this and goes on to face like Roman Reigns or something. Spoiler alert. But yeah, well, what did you think? It was a short match. I assume you got the same opinion as the last match.
Yeah. So it's going to be the same for most of them for tonight. Just yeah.
Next match, I was actually really invested in this one because I really like Rhea Ripley and I really like Asuka as well. But I personally thought Asuka should have lost here, and she did lose. She lost to Rhea Ripley. This Rhea Ripley's first singles match on Raw since her move from NXT. She has had single matches before. This match, well, the build to this match was heavily criticized because people were like, "Oh, Rhea Ripley's done nothing to earn this title shot. Oh, she's done this, she's done that." And I'm just sitting here like, has no one watched NXT? The amount of work she's done for that brand. Did no one watch WrestleMania last year when she should have won, but Charlotte Flair got the win and became NXT Women's Champion for some reason, and then did nothing with the belt.
No reason.
She did nothing with the belt. She was terrible as NXT Women's Champion. Thank God Io Shirai won it from her. But yeah, this match was slightly underwhelming. I wanted more. I don't think Asuka and Rhea Ripley worked together as well as I thought they would, but it wasn't bad. It was still a good match, but it was more like a 3-star match rather than a 4 or a 5-star, in my opinion. but I like both people involved. Both are like some of the best wrestlers on the roster, and I am happy for Rhea Ripley to have got a chance, just like I was happy for Bianca Belair. But yeah, that was also just it was really nice to see that get such an elevated spot on the card, sort of a co-main event. But I hope they don't fuck up this title reign by giving it immediately to Charlotte Flair, which is what they look like. If Charlotte Flair beats Rhea Ripley for the title a second time, people are gonna do what they're gonna keep on doing. But holy fuck, the outrage that will come from it. She doesn't need another title. Have Rhea Ripley. I'm fine with this storyline as long as Rhea Ripley beats Charlotte Flair. She has to do this. If she loses again to Charlotte Flair, the amount of damage it did last time to Rhea Ripley. Build new stars. Build new stars. Anyway, we get to
Why build new stars when it can just have the same old people win titles, Jimmy?
Well, the problem is the fans don't make it better. Like they're actually trying to build Rhea Ripley here. Hopefully, the fans were like, no, I don't want it. No. Even though they were loving Rhea Ripley on NXT, she was one of the favorites. She was this that. No, but it's the same with Drew McIntyre. Like, he's held the title so much. He's still in the title picture now. He's gonna have a rematch. While I think it's time to move on a little bit, maybe after the Backlash match, they'll probably definitely move on. Fans have just been like, we don't want to see Drew anymore. We're bored of him, and I'm just like, for people that preach, oh, the Attitude Era was the best era. The Attitude Era, the top of the card was literally Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock with a couple of other people. They were the same people for years. Now you're getting Drew McIntyre, who was elevated to be a big star now. He wasn't. He got fired from the company. He got let go, and he came back. He became NXT champion. Then he came to the main roster. He was dwindling a little bit with Dolph Ziggler, and then he got the big Rumble win and became WWE champion. And he's done so well considering the circumstances, and people just want to complain, and I'm bored of it.
People will always complain, though. They'll never be right. If they have the champions are too quick, they're like, oh, why are you not giving this person a run? If someone's getting a bit of a run, they're like, oh, why are you not changing the championship more often?
Don't get me wrong, WWE deserve criticism. And I'm not just talking about what happened today with all the releases and what's happened before. The storylines on Raw are terrible. The show is terrible, and it's the longest show of the 3 main shows they've got. NXT is great. SmackDown is mostly great. Like, there's not much of a problem. Like, SmackDown suffered a little bit with the build to some matches, like Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair's match was a bit tainted on SmackDown the past few weeks because the build was terrible, but the match itself was awesome. But like Raw is just like no match was built great. I'd say Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre was probably the most well built match, but then again, the build wasn't great either. But anyway, we'll move on to the main event of night 2, which is Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against Edge and Daniel Bryan. I already spoiled the result for this match, but Roman Reigns did retain, which might have been a big shock to a lot of people. I thought Edge was going to pin Daniel Bryan and get the win here, because it was 10 years since he was forced to retire. But no, Roman Reigns dominated. This match was maybe my favourite match of the 2 nights. It was also the longest match of the 2 nights, I believe. Jey Uso got involved quite early on to try and like take out both Edge and Daniel Bryan. But yeah, before actually, I'll do this at the end. But yeah, it was just an awesome match. Some great spots, like when Edge had the piece of the chair, the leg of the chair, put it over Roman Reigns' mouth and had him in a crossface, and then Daniel Bryan came over and put the label lock on, and they were both like headbutting each other to get him off. Edge spearing Roman Reigns after Roman threw power bombed Daniel Bryan through the table. That was really good. The concertos. So when Edge concertoed Daniel Bryan, then Roman Reigns got up and concertoed Edge, dragging him over, putting him on top, and pinning both of them at the same time. That was really good. They're also, I think, while SmackDown hasn't happened yet, I think they're leading into the storyline where technically Edge should have won because he was over Daniel Bryan. Um, so they might lead to an Edge versus Roman Reigns rematch. But yeah, awesome match. My favorite match of the show altogether. And while night 2 was lackluster compared to night 1, I think this match really elevated it up for me. Your opinion?
Yeah. I think I was surprised that Edge didn't win. I thought that was the whole point of bringing him back, building him up, win a title.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine he'll get a title win eventually, probably in a few pay-per-views time. But yeah, thought it was a good match. As I said, it's the same with most of them. Like, it's a good match, but for me, it wasn't. Well, it's probably obviously closest to like a big WrestleMania one, but I still think that it wasn't your typical huge big WrestleMania moment match.
I mean, because you don't watch the weekly shows, I can see why you can
Yeah.
say like the build to this match was really, really good. The last SmackDown before WrestleMania, they all cut like I think Roman Reigns ended the night, Edge, Daniel Bryan started, and Edge was in the middle. But they all cut really good promos. Like each one of them could have won the match just on promos. Like it was that good. The build to it has been great. The storyline was great from the last pay per view to here. Yeah, I personally see it differently. I personally think it was one of like the best matches. Well, it was the best match on WrestleMania for me. Maybe Bianca and Sasha just beats it, but just because I enjoyed night 1 more overall, I think that's what elevates that. But this was probably a better match, and I'm excited to see where it goes from there. But I missed something. Um, After Rhea Ripley and Asuka, I was like adamant. Okay, we're going to get a big. Someone's going to come back here. They haven't done any surprises. This is the first WrestleMania back. There's got a big surprise. There was stuff all over Twitter saying, "Yeah, there's got to be a big surprise." So I thought, okay, Becky Lynch is going to come back because she was like sort of hinting at a return, night 1 and night 2, but she's known to shithouse, so I wasn't surprised. But she didn't come back after the match. But then Bayley came out after the Hall of Fame segment, I think, and I think Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan were on the stage. She came out, got a bit of pyro, and everyone's like, Becky Lynch is going to come back. I think I even tweeted it. I was like, this is where we're going to get Becky Lynch, aren't we? Brian Alvarez was heavily hinting all night on Twitter that there was going to be a big surprise. And it turned out to be the Bella Twins. The Bella Twins came out and then they beat down Bayley, threw her down the ramp. Woo. And they got heavily booed by the crowd, as expected. I don't know why WWE thought people would enjoy this, because they didn't. And I was one of the people who didn't. I don't even mind the Bella Twins. I think they're serviceable. But this should not have been a thing. But yeah, like I said at the start of this was a lot of heel victories. There were 3, I think, face wins this entire night. Only 3 good guys won out of the 14 matches. In all of WWE, not counting NXT, there is only 1 face champion. The rest are heel champions. So people are going to be losing their belts soon, because there's no way WWE are having all heel champions. Unless Rhea Ripley could be a face now because Charlotte Flair is a heel. So maybe you got 2. But the rest are heels until something happens. But yeah, overall, I thought for the first pay-per-view back in front of fans, I thought it was very enjoyable. I think they did a very good job, and I'll commend them on that. But I don't think there's a lot of things this week that have really soured the taste in my mouth, such as the releases we just found out about. Raw, NXT was really good, and I'm sure SmackDown will be really good, but you can't like eat on Twitter now. I was looking while we were talking earlier, and NXT UK is airing right now, or was airing, and all of the comments under every single tweet they've made is, "Why are you posting this? No one wants to watch it." Like after the releases you did, and calling them scum and stuff like this. And right, they deserve it. They deserve it. I don't think the people in NXT UK deserve to see that.
So I don't think the admins of the Twitter deserve it, but
no. But I'm saying WWE as a company deserve to see all this ridicule. It's ridiculous. But anyway, your opinion overall? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It was all right. It's not one of those big ones, I don't think, of like a memorable WrestleMania. One thing I did want to just put to you is like, do you think that the 2-night system is going to stay?
No.
So obviously they brought it in last year.
I know it's not going to stay. They already said it won't.
Okay. I did want that because obviously they brought it in last year mainly because of COVID, didn't they, as an extra thing.
It should stay because WrestleMania is too long usually, but then again they get rid of the filler. I'm basically basing it off WrestleMania 35, which was like an 8-hour show. It was so long.
Yeah.
And but it was, I really enjoyed WrestleMania 35, don't get me wrong, but it was so long to stay up and watch that. So I prefer the 2-night event, but we won't get it. I know the next one they've already said will only be a 1-night event. And that's also taking place in Texas, I believe, in the Cowboys Stadium. I forgot what it's called. I'm not sure. I
couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it will be in Texas. I know that. And then the one after will be Hollywood. So expect Roman Reigns to keep the Universal Championship until then, when he can face The Rock. I personally think he should drop it, have a bit of a break, and then come back.
And then come back.
Yeah. Give the people that we think should earn the title, like Cesaro, Big E, give them a chance, and then make him win it back. I think Cesaro should win it, then Big E win it off him, and then Roman Reigns come back and beat him. I think that's what the story should be. Have a little feud there, running up to that WrestleMania in 2 years' time. But yeah, that is all for our podcast. It's been an hour and a half. Been a very long podcast. Maybe one of our longest. It hasn't felt like an hour and a half, to be fair. But that's probably because I've been talking for a lot of it. Next week, I don't know what we're going to do. We may change around the dates. I haven't talked to you about this, but I was thinking I was thinking of, because Falcon and Winter Soldier ends next week, doesn't it? I think next week's the last episode. But
no.
Is it not? Is there a week after that?
Episode 5 next week.
Is that not this week?
Oh, sorry.
It's 6 next week.
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
So
I'm thinking because I haven't seen this week's yet.
I haven't discussed this with you yet, and it depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
But I was potentially thinking of doing the podcast on Friday instead of Thursday.
Okay.
Watching the episodes before, if you can fit it in after work, and then doing the podcast.
Yeah, I normally watch it as soon as I get in anyway.
So I was thinking of doing that instead. So we may see the podcast come out on a Saturday rather than a Friday, which is fine. But it also gives us something to talk about next week because we can go over that instead. So yeah. We will see you next week. I hope you enjoyed. If you're a wrestling fan, if you're not, I hope you enjoyed the first half of the podcast. But don't worry, there won't be a lot of wrestling until Money in the Bank. So we're alright. I think Money in the Bank's next. I don't know. But yeah, fuck WWE for releasing all this talent, but also congratulate them for putting on a decent show during WrestleMania season. I've been your host, Jimmy. To my right is Sean. We will see you next week.